Hi everyone. So this will be the first lesson of our next unit, and the next unit is actually two chapters in our workbook. Chapter 7, Relations and Functions, which is on page 389, and Chapter 8 is on page 495. It's called Characteristics of Linear Functions. So essentially, if we were to go through this in school, your unit test would be at the end of this chapter here. This will be the first lesson, and because you're going through this at home, what I want you to do is everything that you see that I have highlighted, you'll highlight in your book, and everything that I write down, I essentially need you to write down. So I might be talking slightly faster than I would if we were in class, but remember that from you doing this at home, you have the ability to pause the video, to rewind the video, to watch examples over and over again if you need. We're getting into graphing, and actually this unit and the next two units are really graphing intensive. And I'm going to be teaching you quite a bit on your graphing calculator, so make sure that you have this. And I'm also going to give you a link so that you could download this exact calculator at home to have on your computer just like I do. Okay, so lesson 1 is on page 389, and the beginning of lesson 1, it's on something called the Cartesian coordinate system. Okay, so get that highlighted. And I'll just change my pen. So what we have, this is a Cartesian coordinate system here, and it is two axes that intersect, and one axis is the x-axis and one is the y, and you need to know which is which. So the vertical line here is the y-axis, and the horizontal line is the x-axis. And how I sort of tell students to remember that is when you're making the y, you extend your tail down, and you stab the X through the heart. So this horizontal line here is your X-axis, that's your Y-axis there. And this entire thing, it's a 2D, what we call Cartesian plane. Now the point where the two axes intersect, that's called the origin. So right here, this point would be 0, 0, and that is referred to as the origin. And we generally label the origin letter O. So I put letter O there. And the point is 0, 0, and that is the origin. Then what happens is anywhere on this Cartesian plane, I could put points, or what we call coordinates. So they're called coordinates, ordered pairs, or less mathematical term would be points. So for example, if I said, okay, plot for me 4, 5. Like, where's that ordered pair? What you have to realize is that the first number, 4, that's always your x coordinate and followed by your y coordinate. So it's actually any time I give you an ordered pair, it's always x, y. So how I would find this point on my Cartesian plane is I'm going to go 4 units on the x-axis. So from 0, 0, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then to get to 5, I'm going to go up on the y-axis 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that point there, which I'll designate as P, is point 4, 5. And again, that is an ordered pair, 4, 5, or it's a coordinate on our Cartesian plane. Next thing I want to show you is something called quadrants. So here's another Cartesian plane. So just draw yourself another Cartesian plane, label your x and y axes. So there's y, extend the tail down, stab your x through the heart. This is divided into what we call 4 equal quadrants. And so I'm going to label that for you. So 4 quadrants, and we number these quadrants using Roman numerals. And the first quadrant, it's the top right-hand quadrant. So that would be quadrant 1. And then what we do when we're dealing with quadrants is we go counterclockwise. So this would be quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, and this would be quadrant 4. So if I gave you an ordered pair, for example, and let's say I gave you -4, -3, and I said, well, what quadrant does that ordered pair fall in? You would say, okay, well, the x is at -4 and the y is at -3. So if this is 0, 0, x is negative 4, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. And y is negative 3. I'd go down 3, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. That point there, which I'll call Q, is at the ordered pair negative 4, comma negative 3. And then what quadrant does that lie in? You would say that lies in quadrant 3 would be your answer. All right, let's look at class example 1. I'll do the first few examples with you, and then I'm going to give you a couple extra examples that I want you to pause and do on your own. So what they're saying is complete the following by writing the coordinates of the points represented by the letters on the grid. So they want the coordinates of each letter that they give me. So what are the coordinates for letter A? So on my grid, here's letter A, and X is at 2. And y would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 comma 4. For letter B, so I'm going to just erase every time. For letter B, okay, so remember, it's always x comma y. So I always do my x first, and you start at 0. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. And then my y, I didn't move up or down. I'm right on the x-axis. So my y coordinate is 0. C, which is down here. Okay, let's figure out C. So my x coordinate from 0, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, comma, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. So 6 comma negative 3, that would be my C coordinate. I'll clean this up. D coordinate, so where's D? Right here. It is on the y-axis. So my x coordinate, if this is 0, I'm not moving left or right. So my x coordinate stays at 0, but my y, I move down 3, so negative 3. O is my origin, and remember that the origin is always going to be where the two axes intersect, and that coordinate there is 0, 0. I'm going to give you 2 extra points that I want you to find on the grid, and I'm going to write them down. So I want you guys to find F for me, and I want you to find P. So just pause it right here, find those 2 points, and then I will give you those answers. So I'm getting F to be negative 4, comma negative 3, and P to be 4, comma 3. Okay. B says write the coordinates of the points. Write the coordinates. So I don't have B up here, but I'll write it down. Write the coordinates of the point in the second quadrant. So let's go ahead and label our quadrants. Quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. And B says, what is the coordinate of the point in the second quadrant? That would be E. And what's the coordinate of E? From 0, I would go minus 1, minus 2. So that would be my x value, negative 2. And my y value, I'm going up 1, 2, 3. So negative 2, comma 3 would be the coordinate. For C, it says, write the coordinate of the point in quadrant 3. Okay, so let's write this down. For C, in quadrant 3, I've got that point there, which is F. And what would the coordinate of F be? So if I erase everything, okay, so there's F. From 0, I'm going minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. And down 1, 2, 3. That would be negative 3. D says complete the following table using positive or negative. And you know what? I'm Actually, I'll quickly show you. Might as well do this one. So for D, it has a quadrants. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it has the x coordinate and the y coordinate. So in quadrant 1, so that's any point within like this quadrant here, your x's are positive. Your y's in this quadrant, so like for A, for example, the y value is positive as well. If I go into quadrant 2, so I'm going, here's quadrant 2, your x's are negative, but your y's are positive. So like this point here was negative 2 comma 3. X's are x's are negative, y's are positive. So it'd be negative, positive. See if you could figure out what 3 and 4 would be. So like in quadrant 3, what are your x values and what are your y values in quadrant 3? And you should be seeing that they're both negative. And then in quadrant 4, over here, my x values are positive and my y values are negative. Class example 2. Okay, so what they're doing is they're creating a pictorial pattern using something called a linear relation. And I'll talk about what a linear relation is a bit later. But what I have up here is number of triangles. So I'm going to say I've got one triangle and it's made with 3 toothpicks. And then here I have 2 triangles. Count up the number of toothpicks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toothpicks. Here I have 3 triangles. And the number of toothpicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what we're going to do is we're going to see, okay, do you see a pattern? One triangle has 3 toothpicks, 2 triangles have 5, 3 have 7. What's the pattern? So A says draw the next 2 diagrams in the pattern. So they want you to be able to draw what 4 would be. So I'll let you draw that and draw what you think 5 would be. And then take a minute and fill in this table here. So the number of triangles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The number of toothpicks, we have